could we potentially be seeing the Rugby Championship scrapped? And World Rugby seems happy to do so. And I think this will negatively affect Southern Hemisphere rugby as a whole. Maybe I'm overreacting. I want to hear what your thoughts are on this. Please like, subscribe. It really does help the channel grow. And let's get into it. Now, like I say, maybe I'm overreacting. We get to see some amazing rugby. Look, I came across this article on Rugby Pass, which shook me a little bit. It put a little bit of a scare in me, but we get to see some amazing rugby, but at the same time, it's destroying potentially one of the best things about Southern Hemisphere rugby, especially as a fan. So check this out. Article says in 2026, the first All Blacks tour of South Africa will commence instead of the Rugby Championship, with the Springboks returning the favor in 2030. Brilliant. Absolutely, absolutely brilliant. This is something that people have been wanting to see for a very long time. But I think there's talks about a potential 4-test tour, and then, them jump between the two. We get to see two of quite possibly the best rugby playing nations of all time get to clash heads multiple times. But this is where I feel things start to get a bit unfair. So due to the Rugby World Cup in 2027, the Rugby Championship will be a condensed version we usually see during that important year. It says here, Rugby Australia CEO Phil Ward told The Raw that traditional 3-test tours are being considered again between the rivals. Sorry, 3, not 4. So that means in the next 5 years, there will be just one full-size rugby championship competition in 2029. At some point down the line, it might be questioned why hold it at all. If the newer touring model proves to be more lucrative across August to October, it could be abandoned altogether. Now, yes, for South Africa and New Zealand, we get to see tours. But what happens after? Right? What happens after? What happens to Australia? What happens to Argentina? I'm more than happy seeing South Africa play whoever twice, whether it's the Wallabies, whether it's Argentina, whether it's the All Blacks. It keeps them it keeps them fit. It keeps them in shape. It keeps them ready to go. And then you have everything that that leads up and builds up to the rest of the year. Now I can understand the competition and the annual calendar is condensed, so they're reducing it. Fair enough, I understand this, but why aren't they reducing the Six Nations if this is what they are on about? Why are they not doing it for the Six Nations? Why is the Southern Hemisphere teams being punished for a World Cup? Is it because there's number 1 and number 2 in the world? This is just me being cynical, but a little part of me says maybe, because the Six Nations is going to continue on. Northern Hemisphere rugby is going to continue on. They're going to play some, regular rugby through the year. But the Southern Hemisphere, it gets reduced. To me, that doesn't sit right. And then, yes, like I say, we get to see South Africa and Australia. We get tours in 2026 and 2030. But the next full-blown rugby championship is going to be in 2029. What's happening here? Why does one get reduced and the other doesn't? Surely, if it's something you are looking to free up space and time on an annual calendar, you would look at both the Northern Hemisphere and the Southern Hemisphere and see how you can work at it equally, so it benefits everybody. But this just seems that they're reducing the Rugby Championship because of the World Cup. And then, yes, they're going to be giving tours to South Africa and New Zealand. But otherwise, what happens to Argentina and Australia? They now need to figure out whatever the hell they got to figure out. I find this to be wrong. I find that this is unnecessary. And everything is going to be thrown into doubt. But again, maybe I am looking too far into this. Maybe I am overreacting to this. But we get to see Northern Hemisphere teams unaffected, where the Southern Hemisphere teams are being affected by this. Why? surely these are questions that need to be asked to the higher ups to see why are both North and South being looked at equally. Why is the Six Nations? And I love the Six Nations. I love the Six Nations. Why are you doing 1-to-1? What's the saying? What's good for the goose is good for the gander? I don't know. Me being cynical makes me think they want to reduce the playing time of the Southern Hemisphere teams because number one and number two, respectively, are Southern Hemisphere and have been for God knows how long. But again, that's just me being cynical. That's just my brain going that way, the conspiracy theorist in me. But it just strikes me as weird as to why they don't reduce anything for the North. So if there's something that I'm missing relating to this, and they actually are going to be reducing Northern Hemisphere rugby, please let me know. Drop it in the comment section below. I'll check it out. But I can't find anything in relation to this. And all I'm seeing is they want to go to the old school tours, the tour system, which I do feel that ultimately it's going to affect the Southern Hemisphere teams because having everybody in the calendar, I love watching whenever they play the Wallabies, whenever they play the All Blacks, whenever they play Argentina. I love watching this, right? It adds that extra bit of excitement. It adds Argentina coming to New Zealand, and vice versa. The Wallabies going to South Africa, vice versa. They get that they get that elite level experience. They get the chance to be playing there, playing at the highest level. But like I say, as a South African, I am happy that we are going to end up seeing New Zealand tour South Africa and South Africa tour New Zealand. I love to see that. But in terms of the big picture, what's going to happen to Southern Hemisphere international rugby? I find that this is unfair. So, guys, let me know what you guys think in relation to this. Am I overreacting? Is this genuine? Why? Why? So, drop your thoughts in the comment section below. Please like and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye.